They're schemers. Schemers trying to control their little worlds. I'm not a schemer. When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other. And here we go.
Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you are all well on this marvellous, terrific Tuesday. And this is video one of probably only one today, as I seem to be suffering with some form of disease. So I hope you're feeling better than what I do. But obviously I did have to come and speak on this, which is Donald Trump speaking out with reference to Bryan Kohberger's recent plea deal. And even he has questions. And look, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. What exactly did he say? What exactly did he say? And what does it mean? And is it going to change anything? So it says here, President Donald Trump urged District Judge Hippler, who was presiding over the Bryan Kohberger case, to make Kohberger explain why he committed the murders of 4 University of Idaho students during his upcoming sentencing hearing. Kohberger, 30, pleaded guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary on July 2nd in the 2022 stabbings of Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Knodel, and Ethan Chapin. The prosecution and defense reached a plea agreement that spares Kohberger from the death penalty in exchange for 4 life sentences and a maximum 10-year sentence for the burglary charge. Trump posted on Truth Social, Bryan Kohberger, who was responsible in Idaho for the deaths of 4 wonderful young souls, has made a plea bargain deal in order to avoid the death penalty. These were vicious murders with so many questions left unanswered. Yes, Donald, yes, so many questions. While life imprisonment is tough, it's certainly better than receiving the death penalty. But before sentencing, I hope the judge makes Kohberger, at a minimum, explain why he did these horrible murders. There are no explanations. There is no nothing. People were shocked that he was able to plea bargain, but the judge should make him explain what happened. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And I just noted that the Gonsalves family did a post that stated, I definitely do not want to get into politics at all, so I hesitate to even post this, but wow, absolutely shocked. Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, Ethan, you have always mattered so much. You are so loved, and your nature, your light, your entire being is so bright and visible. You guys did this. You guys deserve every last ounce of recognition for this. And obviously they posted the post that Donald Trump put up. Obviously you see in the comments, this makes you laugh, and as an avid Trump hater, I can say, wow, this is the one single issue I actually agree with him on. I'm happy he spoke out and hopes this helps the case. Isn't it fucking marvellous? The way people, as long as you're saying something what they agree with, people will forgive anything, and you're the best thing since sliced bread. But as soon as you say something that they don't, you're an outcast, you're a leper. But does this change anything? Does it change anything? I think this is a bit like closing the stable door after the horse has bolted. I think that what should have happened here is there should have been a plea deal done that stipulated in the early stages of it that there would have to be some form of explanation done, whether Bryan Kohberger didn't necessarily, because you'll never force somebody into speaking. I don't think there's anything that can be done here at this stage. You can't force Bryan Kohberger to talk. What are they going to do? Could they technically retract the plea deal and say, oh, fuck it, we're going to execute you then? I don't know. I'm a bit more ignorant to US law than some of you guys. Maybe you can tell me what powers the judge does have, because from my limited research, it would say that Stephen Hippler at this stage in this process, he doesn't have a massive amount of power. Obviously, there has been an agreement done, an agreement signed, albeit that there was an error on it. There was an amendment, and that amendment on the document was not signed off to signature the amendment. So a lot of people have turned around and said, does that even mean that this document is valid still? Is it invalid? But look, Bryan Kohberger has pled guilty. He's pled guilty, and there is a sentence in the hearing tomorrow, which we will play live here. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe, smash like, and all that jazz. But will we see this post from Donald Trump have any impact on how Stephen Hippler will approach this in front of everyone? I genuinely, I don't think it will. I think that has passed. Again, as aforementioned, I feel that there was an opportunity, if it was indeed the defense that approached the prosecution with a deal, then the prosecution at that stage should have at least turned around and said, and look, maybe there'll be some things come out. This is supposed to be an extended hearing. There's obviously going to be impact statements. We're going to hear from the families of the victims, and Bryan Kohberger will get his opportunity to speak. Will he speak, or will he continue in the vein that he has all the way along, and that is to remain steadfast in his silence? But yeah, I think that the opportunity to perhaps leverage Bryan and say, look, we'll give you a deal, but that deal means that you have to explain at least how you did this crime. Yes, you can say why, but would he be honest if somebody's that much of a monster that they'd do this heinous crime? Would you trust anything that they said? Who knows? But I do think that it's good that Donald Trump has indeed reached out, and he has spoken about the fact that there are questions here, because there are questions here. And, even though some people don't like people asking questions and will say, look, this is a done deal, the way that this happened is not fucking normal. It's bizarre. You've literally got a scenario that you've got a death penalty pro-state who have, for the past 2.5 years, made it abundantly clear that they are going for the death penalty, that this crime warrants the death penalty. They want the death penalty. And then in the last part of this situation that would see Bryan Kohberger literally in trial in just a few weeks' time, they turn around and accept a plea deal, while simultaneously seemingly suggesting that the case that they had wasn't that strong. Look, yes, we know that there's circumstantial evidence, but circumstantial evidence does not, and once it's cross-examined, there can be things that are quite easily explained. The DNA on the knife sheath isn't slam dunk. The car isn't a slam dunk. The Amazon situation, yes, they start to move the needle more towards guilt for sure, but you have to be, absolutely sure. When you go to the second part of this trial, because they'll obviously have the first part which finds the defendant guilty, and then you'll go into the second part of it which will look at everything, including any mitigating circumstances around this, to decide whether he deserves the death penalty. And I feel that with the ASD, with anything that could have been brought up, he'd have probably avoided the death penalty anyway. So this deal, based on what we heard from Angry Santa in the plea deal here, and it doesn't sound like this was the best deal in the world to take. And again, with so many questions kind of leaving you to query where we ended up here, how we ended up here, it's just something just seems off. But again, we'll be doing the hearing tomorrow. We'll be going over it. I just wanted to address a load of you had reached out and said, did you see? So I did just want to come, even though I feel like I'm going to die. I thought I would reach out and just cover this off. So yes, I did see it. Do I think it's going to change anything? Not in the grander scheme of things. I don't feel that Judge Hippler at this stage can force Bryan Kohberger into doing anything. And they had an opportunity to find out some of the information. And all we can do is wait and see whether there was something done in the background. Perhaps Bryan Kohberger did indeed divulge where clothing was put, and where the knife was put, the weapon that was used. Who knows? But if he doesn't, and literally the same questions at the end of the sentence exists that did at the beginning, then I think this could turn into, again, quite a perpetual mess that goes on for a very long time as people try to scrabble and, I don't know, just try to consolidate what happened there. Let me know down below what you think. And again, let me know if you're going to be with us tomorrow in this hearing. Love you all. Mwah.